Welcome back. Today I'm gonna discuss on the behalf of the podcast from Ranveer, Beer Bicep. Yes. So I think this podcast was held in like almost 3 weeks back, so I couldn't make a video on that. Yeah, it is a discussion on Tibet and the Dalai Lama from a Chinese celebrity. So let's see the video a bit. So I will discuss on that.
This is the whole Tibet and China issue. Are you allowed to talk about this?
Let's go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do Chinese people feel about Tibet? Because Tibet people feel like they're a separate country. At least that's the messaging we get in India. I'm just trying to understand your perspective.
To be honest, as a normal Chinese, which are not too much into the politic, we always know Tibet is China. It's part of China. On the map, it's part of China. On all the record you can find, it is a part of China, but it's different religion. In China, we have mixed with 56 different religion. You can see religion, different nation people. Tibet is one of the really important one, but this is always the one of the part of China.
So what she told in this video that Tibet is a part of China. So I think she really don't know, or maybe she knew. I have no idea. So I have met a lot of Chinese here. Some of them really very kind toward me when I was playing a theater, and I was showing a part of a story of Tibet, Tibetan in Tibet. So like how the Tibetan couldn't keep His Holiness the Dalai Lama photo, and how the Tibetans are suffering in Tibet. So some of the Chinese, they really don't know really the story behind Tibet and China, because they never show in Chinese history book, or even in the YouTube they don't have. As she mentioned, a lot of the Chinese, they don't know much. So today I'm gonna discuss on that. Tibet wasn't a part of China, and since China invasion on Tibet since 1950, we lost complete independence on 1959. From 1959, His Holiness the Dalai Lama fled to India.
The history and legacy of the 1959 Uprising. It began on March 10, 1959, when a revolt erupted in Lhasa, the capital of Tibet, against Chinese rule. It was triggered by fears that China was planning to abduct or arrest the Dalai Lama, Tibet's spiritual leader. It was brutally suppressed by Chinese troops, who killed thousands of Tibetans and destroyed many monasteries and temples. It resulted in the Dalai Lama fleeing to India with about 80,000 followers, where he established a government in exile. It marked a turning point in Tibetan history and culture, as well as China's relations with Tibet and other countries.
I would like to discuss on that because many of them, they really don't know. Even some of the Tibetan who are born here in Swiss, where I belong now. So when I was showing a theater, and I was showing some of the story how the Tibetans are living in Tibet, and also one of the Swiss guy, he came towards me and he told, are the Tibetan really suffering in Tibet? So he told me that one of the Tibetan told him that we don't have any problem in Tibet now. So I think even the Tibet within Tibetan who are born here, or some of them really don't know, I think. So same as Chinese. So I don't blame her, the Chinese celebrity who have spoken so well about her country, and I don't blame her at all. So I just want to explain how Tibet lost the independence. Since 1950, the invasion of China toward Tibet. And then we lost a lot of life. I mean, like more than 1 million Tibetan lost their life during the war. During that time, I lost my grandfather because I haven't seen him. So my father told me the story. He lost his father at a very young age. He couldn't say his father. The Chinese killed his father, and he got separated from his mother and his sister. My aunt and my grandmother, I haven't seen them because they got separated during that time. It was very tough, and we lost a lot of our relatives, and we lost our wealth because my grandparents, both from my mother and the father side, were very wealthy, and my grandfather was very strong, and they couldn't kill him. They killed him through poisoning him in his food. Yes. And there are a lot of stories like more different story than mine and more sad than mine. We lost our aunt, uncle, and it was a very difficult situation for both the grandparents. One of my grandfather was a Kuta, so that means it is in English, I think, is a wealthy landlord or kind of emperor or something like that. So he had a lot of wealth. And one of the other grandparents, he lost a lot of gold because the other one was very good in business. He used to do a business from Nepal to Tibet, and yes, a lot of gold and ornaments and everything he lost during that time. And also now more than 150 Tibetan has self-immolate. If they are really happy, how come they are killing themselves? Self-immolation, why they are doing if they are really happy? That's what I want to ask the question. Some of the people outside China or inside China. I mean, I would like to recommend the movie 7 Years in Tibet and Kundin and many more. Yes. And also, this is the book which my uncle wrote. Third fact finding: when my uncle went to Tibet around 1980 with His Holiness the Dalai Lama's sister. So it's a diary of how he faced, I mean, like all the details are written in this book. So this diary I have seen from my own eyes, and they have now converted to one book. It's called Wang Tu Diary. So you can see the history in this, you can watch movie, and we have our own flag before, a Tibetan flag. And this used to be a Dalai Lama's palace from a long time, the previous Dalai Lama, and now His Holiness the Dalai Lama as well. So we are fighting for a Tibetan independence since 1959. Yes, and Dalai Lama has been since like long years. He's hoping for a middle way path, but some of the Tibetan, they are hoping for the complete independence.
So our middle way is not seeking independence, not the present sort of condition. So some meaningful autonomy which Constitution of People's Republic of China is provided. Now that right should implement sincerely, fully, on the spot. So that's the main meaning of middle-way approach. Our approach is actually mutual benefit. Theoretically speaking, mutually agreeable solution. At practical level, the present Chinese president, Wu Jintao, very much emphasis on the importance of harmony. So our proposal is best way to achieve harmony and stability and unity. Thank you.
We're protesting for the freedom of Tibet, freedom of religion, because we can't take His Holiness the Dalai Lama's photo in the house. We can't keep his photo. It has been really, really tight in Tibet, really. She has been saying that Tibetans are very happy now. Like, from the outside world, you can see they are very happy, but inside, when you look around, they are not really happy. And most of the villages, they don't have a facility what they have in the cities. Yes. And yeah, the improving and infrastructure has been improved a lot in Tibet. Yeah, that is true, but they have taken more than $1 trillion of worth of natural resource from Tibet. Tibet is the 10th largest country in the world. We have a population of 6 to 7 millions. It has been spread all over the world. Now we have only in around 3 million in Tibet. So yeah, they have to improve because they have taken all our natural resources. It's not that improved as she has mentioned and everyone is saying, because when you have taken all the natural resources, how come they don't have a very good school in some villages in Tibet? So yeah. And even in this book, because my uncle, he went to Tibet to check how was the school. Some of the school was open only for a day, and we had our own Tibet currency we had before, so it was a complete independent. And now the world is just watching, and we can't do anything because China is very powerful and everyone else care. We can't do much of it. I'm really upset of all this thing. I'm not happy with all this, really. Yeah, one more thing I have to discuss, because Panchen Lama, the original Panchen Lama, is missing from a very long years, and that was really very long back. We all are hoping. We don't know that where is Panchen Lama, where are their family. And one more thing what I want to say is that some of the Tibetan, they can't go to protest because their families are living in Tibet, and if they do a protest here, and they will be in trouble. That's why most of my friends, those who have relatives, parents are there in Tibet, they can't go for a protest. The same way, I think, because if you have to go back to China or Tibet, I think you can't talk anything bad about the government. So you'll be in trouble, the whole family. So I understand the Chinese celebrity who can't talk much on Tibet. So I think, because if she speak anything bad on behalf of Chinese government, she'll be in trouble. She can't go back to her own country. I think maybe because of that as well. At last, I'm not going for a protest nowadays because I think this protest is making a gap between Chinese and the Tibetan. So instead of going for a protest, I think showing a story and showing a movie, a history, what is going on, I think that is much better to the people to know about our country. Yes. When I was showing at theater, they were like, there are some of Chinese, they came toward me and they were really touched. They told me and they were really sorry, felt sorry. And I think the world is changing. The new generation of Chinese are changing. And yes, I would like to say that we Tibetan don't hate Chinese, okay? We are protesting. When we are protesting, we are on the protests. We are against CCP, Chinese Communist Party, a government, not Chinese, whole Chinese. I have one incident when I went for a shooting once, and I met one Chinese. She was like they were asking me when I said I'm Tibetan, and the Chinese girl, she was a little scared of me to talk with me because of the, I think when we are doing a protest, they are thinking that we hate all Chinese. We don't hate Chinese. We are protesting to the CCP for a freedom of religion and freedom of human right in Tibet. Yeah. We don't hate Chinese. That's all I want to say. At last, we all Tibetan are hoping for our freedom of Tibet, freedom of religion, and freedom of human rights in Tibet, really. Pigalo. And yeah, I hope the whole world is watching, and I hope you all will know the story, and please watch the movie 7 Years in Tibet. And for all the Tibetans, I think we need to wake up. We need to show more of our story and come up, and we need to show to the world like theater and not only singing and dancing. I think we need to show more of our story through movie, through theater, because when I was showing a theater, a lot of people came towards me, even a Chinese. They were showing me a sympathy, and I met a lot of Chinese during that time, and they were really supportive. And even some of the Chinese, they told they felt really sad and they felt really sorry for what the government has done towards us. So I think the modern Chinese are changing. I think we are hoping and we are positive. I'm positive. And I think we need to show to the world. Thank you so much, and hope you have a great day ahead, great life ahead. Have a peaceful life ahead. Bye-bye. Take care.
October 6, 1950, Chinese troops crossed into Tibet, initiating the military campaign to annex the region. This action was part of China's broader strategy to solidify its control over Tibet, which had been a point of contention since the Chinese Communist Party came to power. The invasion aimed to enforce Chinese sovereignty over Tibet and quash any resistance to integration. The military campaign faced relatively little resistance and led to the signing of the 17-point agreement in May 1951. This agreement formalized Tibet's status as an autonomous region within China. The signing in May 1951 marked a pivotal moment in history, as it laid the groundwork for China's governance over Tibet. The agreement prompted a reconfiguration of power dynamics, influencing Tibet's political and cultural landscape for decades to come.
Why they are not allowed to hang our own flag? And why are they not letting us to keep His Holiness the Dalai Lama photo in the house? If I was working as a Chinese governor or in the politics, I'll never do. It's very silly to, this kind of act makes like a childish. I don't know what they have in their brain. So I think they need to change.
Tibet is more important than you might think. First, Tibet is home to hundreds of Chinese military bases, meaning that in case of war, China could easily send millions of troops into India. However, India won't be able to do the same because Tibet's mountainous terrain would protect the populated east of China. Secondly, the high peaks of Tibet are the birthplace of these rivers, giving China the ability to control the water of these countries. This is why Tibet is more important than you might think.
What if Tibet gained independence? Although currently an autonomous region of China, an independent Tibet would control an area larger than South Africa, but would only have a population of around 3.6 million people. Economically, Tibet has a GDP of around $32 billion, trailing Zimbabwe but ahead of El Salvador, putting the GDP per capita at $8,800. The life expectancy would be 72 years, the official language would be Lhasa, and it would be the country with the highest average elevation. Should Tibet be independent?